Good afternoon, 4th and 5th graders. It's time for our afternoon math lesson. Today we're going to be talking about fractions and specifically equivalent fractions. So let's talk about a fraction first. See if I can prop my camera up here. Excellent. Okay, so when we make a fraction, it's got a couple of parts. It has the denominator, which is how many parts are in the fraction. So we're going to draw a circle and break it into 4 parts. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Our number 4 goes on the bottom. Put your fraction line. And the numerator is the one that goes on top. It's how many parts we're actually using. So just to keep it simple, let's color in one of the parts. So we colored in 1 part, so that 1 goes right over its 4. So we have the numerator and the denominator. Okay. When we are doing equivalent fractions, equivalent. Now that word almost sounds familiar to me. Equivalent. It almost sounds like equal. So equivalent fractions are simply fractions that have equal value to each other. For example, let me draw a couple of circles up here. We will pretend that they are pizza pies. Everyone loves pizza. We'll draw one that has 2 parts and one that has 4 parts. And these are going to be equivalent, so we can put the equal sign there just so that we know what we're doing. All right, so on our circle that is 1/2, we will shade in 1 piece. Draw 1. So 1/2. To make it equal, we have to have an equivalent fraction here. This is kind of the easier part. If you know your multiplication tables, you are going to be all set. If you're still struggling and you're still learning, no problem. This is a great week or two to just get into it, make some flashcards, and work on those multiplication problems. So to make it equal, if we multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number, then your other fraction will be equivalent. So let's just multiply it by 2. Since 2 times 2 is 4, and we're working with 4 pieces. So 1 times 2 would be 2. So now it's telling me that I need to shade in 2 pieces of my pizza pie. Let's see if we have an equal value. 1, 2. I know my drawing's a little rough, but do these look roughly equivalent? I really hope so. I think they do. So, because yes, they are equivalent fractions. All right. So, we can use this to compare fractions too and put them in the right order. So, for example, excuse me, if we had 7/8 and 2/8, and we compared those and we analyzed them, which number would be greater? Which one would be the bigger number that the alligator wants to eat? That one's pretty obvious. The alligator would go over here. I like to draw little teeth because the alligator only wants to eat the bigger numbers. Let's try a couple more. All right, we'll try one more. Let's see, 3/4 and 5/8. This one's a little harder because the denominators are different. So we have to find a way to get the denominators the same. So it's just like with equivalent fractions. What could we multiply 4 by to get 8? Well, 8 divided by 4 would be 2. So let's multiply by 2. Not plus, times 2. So that would be an 8. And then 3 times 2, because remember, you always have to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number Otherwise, you just go way off into Cuckooville. So let's. 3 times 2 is 6. So now that we have those, the equivalent fraction gave us this common denominator. Which one of these is bigger? 6/8 or 5/8? All right, the alligator wants to eat 6/8. All right, see, it's pretty easy. It's a lot of fun too. Let's get into our workbook and let's see if we can do a few comparison problems. Just to get things fun so we can get some practice, okay? All right, so we did this one. All right, this is easy one. We don't even have to change any of these because any number over itself equals 1. So this one equals 1 because 3 and 3 are the same. 6 and 6 are the same. The numerator and the denominator are the same, so that is one whole piece. So these two would be equal to. Come on, book, give us something harder. All right, 3/6 and 5/6. Is 3/6 greater than, less than, or equal to? I agree, it is less than. So let's draw our little alligator going towards the bigger number. Chomp, 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 chomp. All right. Oh, here we go. Here's something to give us a challenge. 1/3 and 2/6. What is our first step? We need to find a common denominator. We need to make the denominators the same. So what is 6 divided by 3 for that? 2. So if we multiply 3 by 2, we get 6. And remember, oh, that's messy. Oh my goodness, Mrs. Stevenson, pay attention. So 3 times 2 equals 6. And remember, multiply by the same thing on top. So you would have 2/6. Now is 2/6 equal to, less than, or greater than 2/6? It's equal to. It's the same fraction. Aren't equivalent fractions just fun? I think they're fantastic. Okay, let's look at number 2. 1/4 and 2/4. Greater than, is 1/4 greater than, less than, or equal to 2/4? I agree. I think it's going to be less than. He wants bigger slices of the pizza. Yum, 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 yum. All right. Yay, we get to do equivalent fractions again. Okay, 1/4 and 2/8. Which one is 1/4 greater than, less than, or equal to? First step, find that equivalent fraction. Okay. So I know that 4 goes into 8 2 times, so we're just going to multiply that by 2 real quick, get an 8. And 1 times 2 is 2. What? They're equal to again? This is not challenging us at all. So 1/4 is an equivalent fraction to 2/8. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Oh, another easy one. Come on. Which one is 5/8 greater than, less than, or equal to 7/8? I hope you guys are noticing how when I'm talking about fractions, I don't just say 7/8, 5/8. I say 1/8. I add that TH or the RD for thirds and halves and all those fun things. So when we're talking about fractions, we have to add those different numbers. Okay, so which one? Less than. So the alligator is going to chomp up the 7/8. Bloop, 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 bloop. Draw my little eyeball. Yum, 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 yum. Okay. 1/6 and 2/3. Yay, more equivalent fractions. Okay, let's do it. So 3 times 2 equals 6. Do we have a common denominator now? Yes, we do. So 2 times what? 2 times 2, because it has to be the same. Has to be the same. Numerator and denominator multiplied by the same number. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay. So now we have equivalent fractions here. We have the common denominator, which is 1/6 less than, greater than, or equal to. It is less than. Have they all been less than thus far? Drop an eyeball. Yum, 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 yum. They have, except for the first one, which we didn't get to do. Ugh. Okay. So we're going to try something a little bit more difficult. We need to write the fractions in order from the least to the greatest. This might be a little bit challenging, but I think we can handle it. First things first, they all need to have a common denominator. This one looks different, so we need to make this one a common denominator. So 3 times what equals 6? 3 times 2 equals 6, all right? And 1 times 2 is 2. All right, so now we have our equivalent fractions. So which one is the smallest? Which is the least? 1/6. Next will be 2/6, but that's not the number they gave us. What was the equivalent fraction? 1/3 is what they gave us. Well done. And then the last number that we have is 3/6. So that's a lot of fun. All right, next one. Do we have all common denominators? No, we do not. So we need to make that a common denominator. I know that 4 times 2 equals 8. So I'm going to multiply both of them by 2. So that would be 6/8. So what's the smallest? 1/8. What's the next? So we have the least. Now what's the next one? 3/8. Which one of these is the greatest? 6/8. But wait a minute, that's not the number they gave us. That was our equivalent fraction. So which one? 3/4. I know it seems silly to write the original fraction, but on a lot of state tests, if you don't give the original fraction, you'll be counted wrong. So I'm trying to remind myself and you that we have to keep going with the original question, which is, it is what it is, but we can do it. All right. Oh my, 6 is the greatest denominator. So let's make these 3's into 6's with equivalent fractions. So 3 times 2, 6, 2 times 2, 4, 3 times 2, 6, 1 times 2, 2. There we go. Which is the least? 2/6, but wait a minute. Don't forget to write the original, the equivalent. What's next? 3/6, which is also equivalent to 1/2. Those 1/2 fractions, those equivalent fractions, you'll just start to know them. And then finally it's 4/6, but don't write that 4/6. I know you want to, but we're not going to. We're going to write the 2/3, the original problem. All right, I am going to leave the bottom 2 problems for you to do. I'm going to take a picture of them. And I will put them in the Facebook comments for you to do. I'd love to see your work on this. Equivalent fractions are so important. You can use it, it's not just one of those things you do in school. I use it all the time when I'm baking or cooking or buying groceries. Sometimes I use it for yard work. It's just one of those things that this is something you will use all the time when you're a grown-up. All right, guys, that is our math lesson for today. Come back tomorrow and we will be doing 2 science experiments, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Can't wait to see you guys. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Bye.